The topic I would like to share with everyone today is how environmental robotics could require ethical review boards in the future with rigorous testing frameworks similar to those used for medical trials before deployed in natural ecosystems. Now let's look at some examples and the background to this. We have learned some harsh lessons from very well-intentioned but sometimes catastrophic environmental interventions. Consider Scotland's peatland afforestation program, where replacing natural bogs with non-native conifers was meant to increase carbon sequestration, but instead released more carbon and destroyed unique bog ecosystems. Now, Scotland spends millions restoring what was damaged through inadequate ecological understanding. Now, this pattern repeats across many environmental interventions. Cane toads in Australia, kudzu in the United States, Nile perch in Lake Victoria. If human experts with decades of training can make such fundamental misjudgments about ecosystem intervention, how can we justify deploying autonomous environmental robots without rigorous testing frameworks? If we consider also the escalating autonomy of the system, this demands heightened scrutiny. Currently deployed systems already demonstrate concerning impacts. Consider potential autonomous underwater robotics that have been documented to alter fish behavior patterns during marine surveys. Also, agricultural robots, non-commercial use, making real-time decisions about which plants to remove, potentially eliminating important microhabitats for beneficial insects. These are not hypothetical concerns, but observed effects from current deployments. As we consider more and more advanced applications, the risks just amplify. A hypothetical but feasible scenario involves, a well-intentioned bird-following drone designed to study migration patterns. Such drones could potentially disrupt flock dynamics by altering the formation patterns, increasing energy expenditure during these critical long-distance journeys, and introducing stress factors. And looking forward towards more emerging applications, we look at the autonomous pesticide applicators creating precisely targeted chemical zones that can fragment insect populations and disrupt pollination networks. But if we take it one step further, ecosystem management robots that make autonomous decisions about which species to remove based on algorithmic assessments could trigger trophic cascades, similar to the historical biological disasters, but potentially at rates much faster, which do not allow for human intervention. Now, critics will argue that excessive regulation impedes technological innovation, precisely when environmental crises require very rapid responses. Both climate change and biodiversity laws move faster than regulatory processes typically allow. Others may point out the difficulty of establishing meaningful baselines for comparison. Human interventions already disrupt ecosystems. And so how can we isolate what the robotic effect is going to be compared to just our existing methodologies? Unlike controlled laboratory testing, environmental contexts are inherently very complex and variable, making standardization very challenging. Some advocate for industry self-regulation through best practices or monitoring systems. They argue that environmental robotics replacing more destructive human interventions constitute a net benefit regardless of minor disruptions. For instance, using technologies like monitoring buoys and soil sensors have provided critical data with minimal ecosystem disruption that would be impossible to gather through traditional methods. Then come some practical questions of governance across different jurisdictions. Would an international body be required? How might indigenous knowledge keepers and local ecological experts be meaningfully included? These are significant challenges without simple solutions. So just to kick off the discussion, given the historical pattern of well-intentioned environmental intervention causing cascading ecological damage, what threshold of decision-making autonomy should trigger mandatory ethical review for environmental robotics? And how do we balance the urgent need for technological environmental solutions with sufficient ecological safeguards?